Thanks for joining us this week on Pin Drop Perspectives. In this episode, we're taking a look at the political, academic thriller, Ivy League. Over to you, Jen.
Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something a little different. Yeah, we're going to be taking a look at a pilot script for a potential TV show.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's called Ivy League. And you actually provided this one.
Wow, okay.
So it takes place at Harvard.
Okay.
And I don't know about you, but when I think of Harvard, I think of, all this prestige, all this legacy, this like really intense world of ambition.
Absolutely. The Ivy League in general has that kind of aura about it, right?
Yeah, and this script really leans into all of that.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So we open with Coop Whitaker. He's the dean of Harvard Law School,
Mm-hmm.
and he's digging a grave in the woods.
Whoa, hold on. Digging a grave at night. That's a pretty dramatic way to start a story.
Right. Talk about setting the tone.
It definitely grabs your attention. Makes
Yeah.
you wonder who's in that grave and what Coop's role is in all of this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did he put them there? Is he trying to hide something? I mean, so many questions right from the start.
It's a brilliant hook, no doubt.
Yeah.
Draws you in immediately and makes you want to know more.
Totally. Then the script jumps back 4 days, and we get a glimpse into Coop's life. It's clear that he's ambitious, maybe even ruthless, and he's definitely haunted by the legacy of his father, who was some big-shot lawyer.
I see. So that classic tale of trying to live up to the expectations of a powerful parent.
Exactly. And it's not just affecting him professionally, it's putting a strain on his relationships, too.
Right, because that kind of pressure can really spill over into your personal life, can it?
Absolutely. We see it with his wife, Sharon, who's a successful lawyer herself, but seems almost resentful of Coop's drive.
I can see that. It's like she's living in his shadow, even though she's accomplished in her own right.
Totally. And then there's his teenage daughter, Jackie. She's rebelling hard against his expectations. Typical teenage angst or something more.
It's hard to say at this point, but it definitely adds another layer of complexity to Coop's character. He's trying to navigate this high-stakes world while also dealing with the challenges of family life.
Yeah, and to make things even more interesting, his mother is constantly reminding him of his father's accomplishments.
Oh boy, talk about adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah,
It sounds like Coop is surrounded by pressure from all sides.
he is. And it makes you wonder, is his ambition truly his own, or is he just trying to prove himself to everyone else?
That's a great question. It really gets at the heart of his motivations, doesn't it?
It does. And speaking of ambition, the script introduces us to a whole cast of characters who inhabit this competitive world of Harvard.
Okay, let's hear about them.
So there's Elliot Pierce, dean of the business school. He's like the other side of the ambition coin. Polished, charming, but just as hungry for power as Coop.
Ah, so they're rivals.
It definitely seems that way.
Yeah.
And then we have Stephen Bartholomew, the aging provost, who's also Coop's mentor.
Okay, I see. A wise and experienced figure who might offer guidance.
You got it. And guess what? Stephen is stepping down and has offered Coop the chance to take over as provost.
Wow, so it seems like opportunity is knocking for Coop.
It does.
Yeah.
But remember, this is Harvard.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever simple.
True enough. What else is going on?
Well, there's Laverne Thompson, the university president. She strikes me as someone you don't want to cross.
I can imagine. The ultimate authority figure at Harvard.
Exactly. She demands results. She's not afraid to wield her power, and it's clear that she's the one calling the shots.
So even though Coop has a chance at becoming provost, he's still got to navigate the complexities of power within the university.
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder, is he really climbing the ladder of success, or is he just a pawn in a bigger game?
That's an interesting question to consider. It seems like the writer is setting up some pretty intense power dynamics right from the start.
Right. Okay, so now let's get into the central conflict that drives the plot. It all revolves around a student named Leland Forrester, who's accused of a racially motivated attack.
Oh, wow. That's a serious accusation. What happened?
Picture this Leland, who happens to be the son of a powerful congressman,
Okay.
allegedly calls a Yale quarterback a racial slur and attacks him. And get this, he's wearing a Donald Trump mask while doing it.
Oh my gosh. You're kidding? That's a whole other level of messed up.
Right. It's like a powder keg waiting to explode. The university is thrown into chaos, and they have to figure out how to handle this incredibly delicate situation.
Yeah, you've got the potential for legal issues, political pressure, not to mention the damage to Harvard's reputation. It's a PR
A
nightmare.
total nightmare. And President Thompson makes it very clear to Coop that he needs to take care of it.
So the pressure is on.
Big time. She wants Leland expelled, but his father, the congressman, has a lot of influence.
I see. So it's a classic dilemma. Uphold justice or protect the university's interests.
Exactly. And what does Coop do? He decides to handle things his own way.
Which is?
Well, first he tries to intimidate Leland, using his father's reputation as leverage.
Not exactly ethical, but I guess I can see where he's coming from.
Then he enlists the help of Dominic Wallace, a bright but financially struggling law student.
Okay, how does Dominic fit into this?
Coop sees an opportunity to exploit Domic's vulnerability. He promises him all sorts of opportunities if he helps him out with the Leland situation.
So Coop is manipulating people to get what he wants. Not surprising, I guess, given what we've seen so far.
Right, and it gets even crazier. There's a scene where Coop, disguised as Barack Obama, physically assaults Leland and forces him to leave town.
Whoa, hold on. He dresses up as Barack Obama
Yeah.
while assaulting a student.
Yeah, it's a really jarring image, and I'm not sure what to make of it. Is the writer trying to make a statement about race and power, or is it just pure shock value?
It's definitely provocative, and I think it raises some really important questions about how we view justice, especially within institutions like Harvard.
I agree. It's a lot to unpack. So at this point, what are your thoughts on Coop? Is he just trying to protect the university? Or is he using this situation to advance his own career?
I honestly don't know. The writer does a brilliant job of blurring the lines between right and wrong. We see glimpses of both sides of Coop, the ambitious climber and the man who genuinely cares about Harvard.
Yeah, it's hard to pin him down, but that's what makes him such a fascinating character.
It does, and it makes me even more curious to see how the rest of the story unfolds.
Me too. There's so much more to explore. But for now, let's take a moment to consider what we've learned about these characters and the world they inhabit.
Okay.
What are your initial impressions? Who do you think will play a key role as the story progresses? And what themes do you think the writer will explore further?
I'm already thinking about it.
Well, we'll be back soon to continue our deep dive into Ivy League, so stay tuned.
Looking forward to it.
If you've enjoyed this episode's content, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast series on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or iHeartRadio, where you can receive weekly new episodes every Monday at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, let's dive back into the episode.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Ivy League.
Yeah.
You know, we left off talking about Coop's questionable methods.
Yeah, assaulting a student while dressed as Obama, not exactly standard procedure for a dean.
Right. And it makes you wonder about the deeper implications of that whole situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, what is the writer trying to say about power, race, and justice?
Exactly. It's a very layered scene, and it definitely sticks with you.
It does.
Hmm.
And as we dig deeper into this pilot script, one thing that really struck me is how the writer weaves these big, complex themes into Coop's personal life.
Yeah, I see that. It's not just about ambition and power struggles at the university. It's about how those things affect his relationships, his family.
Right. Like, take his relationship with his wife, Sharon, for example. She's a successful lawyer herself, but it seems like she's always in Coop's shadow, you know?
Absolutely. And there's this underlying tension between them, a sense of resentment, maybe.
Totally. And it makes you wonder, is their marriage just a casualty of his ambition?
Right. Is he so focused on climbing the ladder that he's neglecting the people closest to him?
It seems that way. And then there's his daughter, Jackie, who's clearly rebelling against everything he stands for.
Typical teenage angst. Or something more.
I think it's deeper than that. Remember that scene where she confronts him about always comparing her to her grandfather?
Oh yeah, she was furious.
Yeah.
She basically told him she didn't want to be like him at all.
Exactly. It's like she feels this immense pressure to live up to the Whitaker name, and she's rejecting it completely.
It highlights the burden of legacy, doesn't it?
It does. And speaking of legacy, I have to ask about that pocket watch Coop inherited from his father.
Oh yeah, the one he keeps fiddling with.
What do you make of that?
I think it's a brilliant symbol.
Uh-huh.
It's this constant reminder of his past, of his father's accomplishments, and the expectations that come with it.
And remember how he initially tries to give it to his mother, but then takes it back?
I do, almost as if he can't quite let go of that past, even though it's weighing him down.
Exactly. It's like he's both drawn to and repelled by his father's
A
legacy.
classic internal conflict.
For sure. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about Demek Wallace, the law student Coop brings into his scheme.
Okay, what about him?
Remember, he witnesses that whole scene with Coop assaulting Leland while wearing the Obama mask.
I do. Talk about a traumatic experience. I mean,
Right.
how could that not mess you up?
Right. And it makes you wonder, how will this experience shape him?
Yeah. Will he become more like Coop, willing to do whatever it takes to get ahead? Or will he reject that path?
It's a fascinating question. And speaking of Leland, I think it's important to talk about the incident itself, the racially motivated attack.
Absolutely. It's a pivotal moment in the story, and it brings up some really complex issues.
Like the fact that Leland is the son of a powerful congressman and he's wearing a Trump mask while committing this act.
Right. It really highlights the themes of privilege and entitlement and how those things can sometimes shield people from consequences.
And then you have Coop's response, which is essentially vigilante justice.
Yeah. He takes the law into his own hands, which raises a whole other set of questions.
Right. Like who gets to decide what's right and wrong, and what happens when the lines between justice and revenge become blurred.
It's a moral gray area, for sure.
Okay.
And I think the writer intentionally avoids giving us easy answers.
I agree. It's a thought-provoking exploration of how power can corrupt and how even those who strive for justice can sometimes lose their way.
It makes you wonder, are there any truly good guys in this story?
That's a great question. Maybe everyone is just operating in shades of gray.
Right. It's not a simple black and white situation.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Ivy League so compelling.
It is. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world we live in.
And as we head into the final act of this pilot script, I'm really curious to see how all these threads come together.
Me too. Will Coop's actions catch up with him? What will become of Demek? And will the truth about Leland's disappearance ever come to light?
So many questions. But I guess we'll have to wait for part 3 to find out.
We will. But before we get there, I want to hear your thoughts on the ending of the script. There are some pretty intriguing hints about a larger conspiracy, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Remember that fire at the apartment building where Jackie and her friends were hanging out?
Yeah. That felt like more than just a random event.
Right. Especially with the timing of it, happening right after Jackie told Jean and Bryce about Leland.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, was that fire just a coincidence or was it something more sinister?
Like maybe someone was trying to silence potential witnesses.
Ooh, that's a chilling thought. And it definitely adds a whole other layer of intrigue to the story.
It does. It makes you question everything we've seen so far. Maybe Coop is involved in something much bigger than we initially thought.
Maybe he's not just ambitious, but downright dangerous.
And the fact that the script ends without revealing the truth about the fire only adds to the suspense.
Totally. It's a classic cliffhanger, leaving us with more questions than answers and wanting more.
Exactly. And that's what makes Ivy League so brilliant. It's a gripping, thought-provoking story that stays with you long after you've finished reading it.
I couldn't agree more. And I have to say, this deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
It really has. We've
Yeah.
uncovered so much depth and complexity in this single pilot script, and it's clear that Ivy League has the potential to be a truly captivating TV show.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought.
I'm listening.
If you were the writer, what direction would you take the story next? Would you focus on the conspiracy angle, explore the fallout of Coop's actions, or delve deeper into the lives of the other characters?
That's a great question, and I think it's one that our listeners should ponder as well. What secrets lie hidden within the hallowed halls of Harvard? And who will ultimately pay the price for unchecked ambition?
I'm already thinking about it.
We encourage you to continue this deep dive on your own, exploring those questions and drawing your own conclusions.
And on that note, we'll be back soon with the final part of our deep dive into Ivy League. Stay tuned.
Can't wait.
Interested in receiving more updates from Pindrop Entertainment? Follow us on Blue Sky, X, or subscribe to the channel on YouTube for additional content you can review. Let's jump back into the final part of the episode.
Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into Ivy League.
You know, as we wrap up this exploration of ambition, power, and deceit at Harvard, one thing keeps coming back to me.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It's that feeling of unease that permeates the entire script.
You're right. It's like there's always something lurking beneath the surface.
Exactly. And I think it all comes to a head in that final scene with Coop standing in his new office.
Yeah, overlooking the Harvard yard, having finally achieved his goal.
He's the provost. He's reached the pinnacle of his ambition.
But something feels off, right?
Totally. It's like, despite his victory, there's a sense of emptiness.
I know what you mean. Remember how the script describes him staring out the window, almost like a ghost, looking in on the world he's left behind?
Yes. And his reflection is superimposed over that bustling scene in the yard.
Such a powerful image.
Yeah.
It's as if he's both a part of that world and completely removed from it.
Right. He's reached the top, but at what cost? His family is fractured, his reputation's tarnished, and he's surrounded by people who either fear him or resent him.
And don't forget Damek, standing silently in the corner.
Oh yeah, Damek. We're left wondering what's going to happen to him.
Exactly. Will he become Coop's protege, embracing the darkness he's witnessed?
Or will he break free and try to expose the truth?
The script leaves us hanging.
I think that ambiguity is deliberate. It's like the writer is asking us, what would we do in that situation?
It's a challenge to the audience to examine our own moral compass, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And speaking of moral compasses, it's hard to ignore the hints of a larger conspiracy at play.
Oh, absolutely. That fire at the apartment building, the timing of it all, it just feels too convenient, you know?
You orchestrated.
Right. It makes you wonder, is Coop involved in something bigger than we initially realized?
Is he just a ruthlessly ambitious guy, or is he a master manipulator pulling strings from the shadows?
And what about those who get caught in his web? Like Damek or even Jackie?
So many unanswered questions. It really leaves you wanting more.
It does. This pilot script has been such a captivating read.
It really has. And, you know, it's amazing how much depth and complexity the writer has packed into this single episode.
I agree. It's a testament to their skill and vision. They've created a world that's both compelling and thought-provoking.
Ivy League definitely has the potential to be a truly gripping TV series.
I'd watch it. Wouldn't you?
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Okay, go for it.
Think about the characters we've discussed, their ambitions, their choices, and the consequences they've faced. What do their stories tell us about the nature of power, the allure of success, and the compromises we make along the way?
And how those things can sometimes lead us down a dark path.
It's something to consider, both in the context of this fictional world and in our own lives.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. It's been a fascinating deep dive.
It really has. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back soon with another deep dive into a world of knowledge and ideas.
See you then.
Thanks for tuning into this episode on Ivy League. We hope you enjoyed exploring a darker side of higher education. Next week, what happens when two slick cons try to swindle a decrepit old lady? Everything is not what it seems. Until next time, remember, keep your perspective open. Artificial intelligence was used to assist in generating audio content for this episode.